What if?
Let me assert my firm belief
What if
that the only thing we have to fear is
we looked at things
fear itself.
differently?
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Differently. Differently? Differently. Hello! You're listening to That's Life, stories and lessons that might make you think differently. I'm Heather Otto. Today's episode, I am talking with somebody who I've known for about 10 years. Her name is Janell. And Janell just has great energy that I know that you're going to feel right from the start. And she uses that energy and she just has a heart for lifting other people up, really, and uses that energy and that spirit through the form of fitness. And so with this foundation in fitness, she's really taken her show on the road and sharing that gift with other people. And a few months ago, when I was back visiting, she and I got to talking, and she was sharing some of the recent work that she's been doing with fitness in women's prisons, or one women's prison in particular. And I was so intrigued and wanted to learn more. And there was just so much about this that just screamed at me everything that's life is about having new perspectives, keeping an open mind. And so that's why I wanted to bring her on the podcast. We're going to break this into two different parts because I couldn't possibly keep all of this goodness into one single episode. So here we go with part one. I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoyed talking with her. Hi, Janell.
Hi, Heather.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be talking to you.
And I am absolutely honored that you asked me.
Honestly, just whenever I hear your voice, it just makes me smile. Has anyone else ever told you that in life, that you just have that effect?
Kind of, yes. Definitely, definitely not my voice, but just being around my style, I have people tell me that.
Okay.
Which also makes it really hard for me my entire life. But if I'm not smiling, I'm one of those people think I'm really mad, and I'm not. Like, sometimes it's okay. I'm not smiling.
That's very true. You know, I know this is not the topic that we're here to talk about, but I've actually dealt with that a lot in my life too, because it's kind of like I'm always sunshiny, always smiling. And then it's like, so the days that I'm not, people are like, what's wrong? Are you okay? And it's like, there's no way to conceal, that something's a little off. So
yeah, like there's no in between. Anyway.
Exactly. Oh, well, as I said, I'm so grateful that you agreed to participate in this discussion. And I did give a little bit of background already on you, but just a little bit of background on, where we're going to go today is that when I was visiting back in Illinois a couple months ago, I guess it was now, and I was taking one of your Zumba classes, and then you and I got to talking afterwards, and you started telling me some of the things, it's one of those conversations like, hey, what's new in life? And then you started talking to me about all these amazing things that you were doing. And I just stood there in awe thinking, this is amazing. Like, this is such good work. And I want to share this. And so I'm glad that we're able to come together today and just talk about it and share it with the world or whoever's going to listen to this.
Well, thank you. And,
yeah.
I'm always just so happy to share things like that with you because you truly get it. You get that kind of work and what it does for humans. So I love that.
So let's talk about it then. So first, I want to understand, because I was thinking about this when I was, prepping, that I don't even know the story of how you got into fitness.
Okay. So I will do my best to give you the nutshell of all of that, that as an extremely young girl, very young girl, it was very obvious that I had a different build, so to speak, when I was a very little girl. Boys would even make comments on the playground that, my legs are bigger than theirs, or whatever. Or when we would be in races or racing each other or doing different kind of things against each other like you typically do on a playground, I would be stronger, faster, things like that. And of course, picked on by all those awful little rotten boys. I had an amazing mother, although I'm adopted. I have this amazing mom that completely built differently than me, was always into sports and athleticism, mainly because she grew up in a time when there were no girls' sports. Girls were not allowed to participate in sports unless it was cheerleading. That was the only thing available. So my mom saw also an athlete in me at a very tiny young age and would encourage it. And when I would come home crying about the boys picking on me, she would, of course, tell me to brush that off, and they're just jealous and don't change you. So that's always been, okay, fine, I won't change me. I will embrace me. And 8th grade graduation, that's something that's actually done around here in little old Central Illinois. 8th grade promotion. Other girls in my class were receiving, sweet little diamond necklaces or just something very sweet and personal from their parents. And I got my first bench press. And I loved it, and it was mine, and it was only mine on that farm in that dingy basement. I had my bench press area and my free weights, and I couldn't get enough of it. And,
oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, and that was always important to me. Fitness was just, it was like it was ingrained in me without anyone ingraining it in me. It was something that, as I went through, the phases of childhood and those phases of some of our most awkward years, fitness was something I could hold true to no matter what. It never turned on me. It never betrayed me. It never, it was always there for me. So it's always been an anchor for me. And it's always been something that, of course, I have fallen off my own bandwagon from time to time in my life, but it's always been something I could come back to and feel whole no matter what was going on in my life. I could always feel very whole with it. And
it's like that connection to, like a real connection to yourself, to your body, right?
Yeah.
And you feel that the most, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, even through high school, I would get comments from boys all the time about, I'm too muscular, I'm too this, I'm too that, or because I have all the curves, and I would get, all those awful comments would be said, and things would be said through the halls, and then there would be the excuses, well, boys will be boys, and it hurt. Fast forward, I give birth to a beautiful, shining, amazing, beautiful girl, and she's very quickly also, just like me, showing, oh, this is my little athlete. This is my girl who's going to be built like a brick house. And she's going to have all those strengths. She's going to know, I'm going to teach her how to bench press at the age of 12, and she's going to do it beautifully. And I was right, by the way. My girl can't get enough weights in high school, and she loves to prove that she's stronger than most of the boys in her class. But anyway, I digress. When she was very, very little, I taught her little songs about her body, because even in kindergarten, she came home crying one day, Mommy, the kids won't stop talking about how big my booty is.
Oh,
And I don't think anyone was being mean. At that very tiny age, they're just
right.
pointing things out.
Exactly.
Being
It's the
honest.
observation of
Being
like, oh,
honest.
this is different from me. And
Yeah, you're built differently than most of the girls in this class. So I made up a little song when she was very little about, I'm a beauty with a booty. And I taught her to embrace it. Well, she's also growing up in the time of, Serena and Venus Williams being portrayed as absolute goddesses.
Mm-hmm.
She's being raised in a time of pro UFC women fighters being again portrayed like Ronda Rousey being portrayed as a fit, strong, beautiful woman. And one of the most amazing things I've ever heard from Ronda Rousey in regards to her body, because she also grew up being very picked on for being strong and fit and muscular and all of those things. She said so plainly one day, something along the lines, I can't quote her perfectly, something along the lines of, my body was not built for anyone else but me. And I really that really resonated with me and what my mom was trying to explain to me growing up. So I really tried to instill that in my daughter growing up. And she is so strong and confident. And she turns to fitness as well. Life gets sad, life gets hard. She's 15, it can get difficult. She turns to fitness. She knows it's always there. And I just love seeing that yet again happen for her. For my child, just as it did for me.
Yeah. I mean, just having
so
that.
There's my story of fitness.
Yeah. I mean, just having that a strong role model. I mean, again, having that personal experience at a young age, but also recognizing what I love already about this is that, the recognition of, okay, but this is how I'm made, and I'm going to do something with it. I'm not going to sit back. I'm not going to try to hide it. I'm not going to be sad about it or angry or anything else, but I'm going to use it. And I'm going to use this encouragement, and I'm going to use these skills and everything else. And now, not just with your daughter though, you've taken that and applied it to other people, to where you're teaching fitness classes, right?
I actually, what even got me started with Zumba, I had decided with the loving, amazing support of my family to go back to school and finally finish my bachelor's degree while working full time, all that good stuff. Wonderful online classes have come along, and here I can finally do that. Well, that's going to cost some money, and I wanted to do something that would help out with that financially. And so I was seeing all kinds of people going crazy on my Facebook about something called Zumba. I'm like, what is this? And my husband bought it for me one time, surprised me with it for our Wii. We had a Nintendo Wii at the time. And so he bought me Zumba for the Wii, and I went down to my basement. Okay, I'm going to try this out. This will be some great fitness I can do while I'm going to school, and I'm stressed out with going to school full time and working full time. I can do this. The first time I did it, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever done. I stumbled all over myself. I couldn't follow at all what was going on the screen. I thought this was ridiculous. Forget it. But stubborn me, who could never or stubborn me who's never been allowed to quit anything in my life, I'm going to prove to Zumba that I can do it, and it's stupid, and so I can do it.
I love it. I'm going to prove to Zumba, just in general, Zumba.
to Zumba in my basement, doing it to the Wii, no one else around, and somehow I'm proving to an entire corporation. But that's me. That's my stubbornness.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my grit.
Exactly.
And by session 2, by session 3, I'm hooked. I'm addicted. It's amazing. And then I couldn't wait to figure out where are the classes around here. Well, there weren't many offered at that time that was anywhere near or anywhere around. There's only maybe a couple offered at at one of our local gyms, and those times didn't even work for me. So I just kept doing it with the Wii and kept doing it with the Wii. And then I started talking to some of my friends. What would you think of me teaching Zumba? And they're like, well, you figure out how to do it, and I'll come and watch you make a fool of yourself. Sure, I'll come do. I'll come see what you're gonna do. And then I started building more interest. Of course, used good old social media. In 2010, early 2011, there were a lot less people on Facebook at that time. But hey, I'm doing shout outs and. What do you guys think if I started a class? And then I've got all kinds of people saying, oh my gosh, please bring a class to our small little town. Please give us this opportunity. And okay, fine. Now I got to look into see how in the world I get certified or licensed for this. So I found a class in the Chicago area. My wonderful, supportive, loving husband drove me to it. And I spent 12 hours getting certified. I have, at this point, never taken an actual Zumba class, mind you. And the day that I'm getting certified was exactly 7 days before I'm about to open my very first Zumba class. I've never been to a Zumba class. So here I've only been 12 hours of Zumba training, and I already have everything set up. I have everything set up. I have the venues set up. I have schedules set up. I've been advertising. And here I am in a 12-hour training session thinking, what have I gotten myself into?
I was going to say, some may call that, ignorance or something, but I call that confidence, Janell. that was
confidence? Confidence or ignorance is bliss. So I got certified. And I opened the class on a Monday. 32 people showed up to that class. I was blown away, terrified, sick to my stomach. By the way, I am an introverted extrovert. I wanted to throw up when I got onto that stage. It was the last thing I wanted to do. I thought, what have I gotten myself into yet again?
Right.
It was awful.
You're like, but we're doing it. I'm doing it. There's no backing down.
It was a mess. It was the most awkward thing anyone has probably ever seen. And I thought there's absolutely no way there's no way anyone's coming back to my class. Well, here I am getting certified, getting licensed the very beginning of March of 2011. Here I am still teaching class in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
People still coming to my class.
And I have to say, I'm not just saying this, right? But I was just there taking your classes when I was back a couple months ago in Illinois, and they're so much fun. They're great, and I am just so grateful that you are still doing it. I'm so glad that you put yourself out there 9 years ago or whatever, and took that leap of faith on yourself. Yeah. But and I've been through a lot of changes with it. It's been through a lot of changes with me. Right. It's one of the most beautifully designed fitness programs. Mm-hmm. I just have a blast with it. And I say to everyone, every new person who ever enters into one of my classrooms, one of my Zumba classes, I have one rule, and that's to have fun and don't take it seriously. Yeah. It's so important, right? It's so important. It's one of those things.
I want to give people 45 minutes of forgetting about their life. I don't care what happened that day. I don't care what happened at work. I don't care what's happening at home. I want you to have 45 minutes of letting go. Just let go. Mm-hmm. And let go of your inhibitions and just have a blast and forget that you're working out. Forget that you came to a gym. Forget that you put on workout clothes for this, because I also want this to be I want this to be a dance party. I want you to be at the club. I don't care what it is. I don't care if in your mind you're dancing on a beach, whatever it is, I want it to take you away. I want
Mm-hmm.
every single one of my classes designed to just take you away from whatever it is you've got going on, just for a little bit. I want it to carry you away. And at the end, you can go back to whatever it is you need to do. But I
Right.
just want you carried away for a little bit. If that's what it takes, if that's all it takes to lift somebody up, to encourage somebody, to help change their world for the better, even just for a little bit, then all my sweat and aching joints, it's
It's worth it.
completely worth it. And
Mm-hmm.
sometime after I got certified, a few months later, late 2011, a fitness magazine came to my house, something I was subscribing to at that time, and there was an article highlighting a Zumba instructor who purely does all of her Zumba classes in a female prison. And I just fell in love with the story right away. Naturally, I grew up with parents who were prison ministers, who did very incredible prison ministry. My father even would spend an entire weekend in a men's prison, about an hour and a half north of here, and eat with the prisoners. And they came back with the amazing story that we're all just a few bad decisions away from being there. So don't ever think you're just this hoity-toity person who didn't end
Mm-hmm.
up in prison, like you're so much better than they are. You're not, first and foremost. And also, as ministers, made sure that I understood, my brother understood, that God does not love us any differently
Mm-hmm.
than he loves the murderer my father sat next to. There's no difference. We are just as important in his eyes as the murderer is just as important in God's eyes as my brother and I were in his eyes. And that was something kind of huge to have for children to wrap their heads around, but we did, and we've always understood that. Fast forward, I read this article and I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. That's why I got Zumba certified. I go running to my husband. He's like, when our children are out of the house, you go right ahead. Being the wonderful man of our house, he
Right.
immediately goes into protection mode for very good reason. At that time, our girl was very, very young, and he's just kind of like, you go right ahead and do all of that when our kids are out the house. So okay, fine. I kind of put that to the side and I just keep doing me. And years later, I become very, very good friends with an amazing human being through the fitness world, who just so happens to be an administrative assistant to the warden at our local female prison. And there happened to be female inmates at the prison that had gathered together and created their own Biggest Loser. And that's pretty hard to do on prison food. Prison food's awful. It's full of starch. There's really nothing healthy about it. And they were able to collectively, this group, lose just an amazing amount of weight. I can't remember how much it was, but it was a lot of weight among a group of only about 18 women. And one day, my friend was talking with the warden at the time, this was before that warden retired, about this group of ladies who had been so successful at their own little Biggest Loser challenge they had created. And the warden and my friend had both agreed, we need to reward them with something. Well, in prison, cake and special treats like that are like a delicacy, but they both agreed, well, we can't reward them with food, with
Right.
junk food. We got to
Counterproductive.
We want these ladies to, of course we all want to be rewarded with that, but we want to keep these ladies on the right track. We can't do that stuff. And my friend said, well, I have a treat. I have this friend who's incredible, and I think that bringing her here for a very special Zumba session just for these ladies would just be out of this world amazing. The warden agreed, and I went,
Yeah, what was it like? I want to hear like what was it like? We talked earlier about the music, how important the music is and how important the personality of the instructor is and knowing you and how wonderful you are. I'm picturing I
Well,
have a picture in my head, so I'm just curious like what was it like? And for, the listeners too, have never maybe been to a correctional facility at all. It's kind of like that can be a scary thought. So what was it like going in there that first day?
so, well, I went with, completely escorted by my very good friend, my sweet, dear friend. And also, Tommy, that we're like a small community. I already know half the folks that work there. So that helps that at least I have familiar faces in there.
Sure.
I have friends that actually work in there, so that is very helpful. But knowing that, I mean, all of this was such a spiritual thing, and it's what I'm supposed to do. Like, it's just, I don't know how to explain this, but I was okay. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be, so I'm fine. And that's how I felt that day. Like, this is just where I'm supposed to be, so everything's fine. And
Wow.
what I did know is that it was going to be the toughest crowd I've ever had, because they don't trust anyone anymore.
Mm.
And I know I've got my work cut out for me, because I'm going to have to earn their trust, and they're going to how am I going to be good enough for them was the only thing going through my head. Am I going to be good enough for this crowd, for these ladies who are so deserving of this, that I can't put words on that, to explain how much I understood how deserving they were. And so I walked into that room. It's a big, huge gym, old building, as old as the hills, this old giant brick building with, a furnace blaring at 90 degrees, because that's all it can do. And it has no air conditioning in the summer, by the way. We are always close to dying. But anyway, we still do it.
It's like
But
Bikram yoga.
this
Just
awful,
sweat it out.
horrible, giant, dismal gym. And there's this whole group. I walk in that room, in that gym, and there is this roar of screaming and hooting and hollering and clapping. And my heart filled.
Yeah, so that's like
And
a good thing, like a welcome thing. At first, when you were saying like this roaring, I was like, oh, they were booing you, but it sounds like they were really excited.
They were so incredibly grateful for me to be there. And so I gathered them around. So it was a small group. I gathered them around. I said, the first thing I need you to know is that I am not here out of charity. I'm not here because out of pity. I'm just a human being with some skills to offer up to my fellow humans. That's it. That's all I'm here. And they all were like, all right, you're good. Okay, we love you. And that's really how I feel. I don't do this for charity. They changed me, Heather. They fixed me. I don't trust me. I don't fix them. They have fixed me over the past 2 years. So I Zumbaed like crazy, and I turned the place into a club, and we danced and we twerked and we were dropping it low and we were shaking it, and at the end there wasn't a dry eye in the room. And
What do you mean?
They said you're real. You came here and you weren't thumping a Bible at us, and you weren't telling us about reminding us of our sins. You're not here to remind us of our sins. You're just here to hang with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I am, and that's what I want to do. And so fast forward, we've gone from 18 to always having about 100 girls in there.
Wow.
And,
wow.
Passes have to be put through, and that's my wonderful dear friend who has to do it every time. She has to do all the administrative work to do it. the passes have to go through. They have to be approved. She does everything she can to make sure the original, if their names got put in, that they're coming, they get put in. And then always making sure that plenty of new ones are getting a chance.
What is it that they have to do? Like, what is the, I guess with this being their reward, so what is is it good behavior, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have no idea, but I would probably say it's probably the majority of the population there is that they have to, you have to be you have to be a decent inmate with a decent record to be able to participate in any programming. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's that in itself. So that's how, those kind of passes and things have already occurred before I come into the room. Well, now I come into that room and all I got to do is holler out where my girl's at, and it's a roar like you've never heard in your life, and it's screaming and hooting and hollering. But now that we have so many, we don't gather in the beginning. I get up on stage. I tell them to all forget about life. I tell them we're now in the club. We're going to drop it. We're going to go crazy. We're going to twerk it. I've gotten into some twerk offs with some of them, by the way.
Oh,
and
loud.
They're always blown away that this 40-something can do it as good as they can. But hey, and then at the end, I have them all sweaty and tired and breathing heavy, and so they're very vulnerable, and so I still put them in a circle. And they all have to tell me every single time. They have to tell me something good about themselves. And this one I'll never forget. It's gonna stay with me for the rest of my life. I got to her and she says to me, I like me and I love me, and that's what's good. And I stopped dead in my tracks and I said, say that again. I said, explain what you mean. And she said, I have forgiven me and I'm free. And I've accepted God's forgiveness, and I'm free. And I looked at her and I said, do you know that you are more free than most of the people that live outside that barbed wire? And she said, yeah, I do. And this is someone who's in there until she's going to be in a very ripe old age. She's young, beautiful.
Wow,
For her
that is powerful.
To have that peace,
mm-hmm.
to have found that kind of peace with herself in one of the most depressing, dismal places on the planet, that is going to stay with me forever. I don't care how hard I think my life gets at times. Dang. Or I don't get to beat myself up anymore over stupid mistakes. She's not, so I can't either, Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean whenever I say they changed me. They fix me. They lift me up. They make my life better.
Whew. I'm telling you, every time I talk with Janell, I learn something new and I just feel inspired. And I think a couple of things that I took away from this first part of the conversation is going way back to her childhood and the way that Janell found to embrace who she was and who she is. And even not just embracing it, but using those gifts, using the talent to serve others throughout her life. And now, in this case, using it to serve others in a women's correctional facility. And what she brings there is this amazing perspective of creating a judgment-free space for individuals who aren't used to that. Individuals who are used to being judged, who are used to being watched every single move, and potentially aren't used to being given the benefit of the doubt. And so I love that she says, that's not for me to judge. And she goes in and it's just like another class to her. And what she creates is this space where women feel comfortable that they can come together and they are able to do something healthy for themselves. And I just love that visual. So thank you for tuning in. I hope that you'll listen in to the next episode, part 2 of Freedom Dance. And until then, what are you going to do differently? Because that's life.